NSFW. What's the accidentally hottest thing done by someone who wasn't intending to turn you on? There was a guy I knew liked me, but had no experience with women and was as much terrified of me as he was interested. I hugged him, and he was so ungodly. Obviously nervous. His hands were shaking and I could practically feel his panicked heartbeat. And the vagina says, "Yes. This is good to me." And the vagina says, "Yes. This is good to me." I died. Final year of uni. Doing a group project presentation. One of our group members was this really cool, pretty Swedish exchange student. We were sitting on the sidelines as one of our other group members was presenting. She leans over and starts whispering Swedish things in my ear. Holy speep. I turned to look at her and she blushes and giggled and apologized, saying she got the wrong language. We had a lot of Swedish students in the course, so they spoke it often among themselves. She then repeats herself in English. But I wasn't listening because I was too focused on the fact that I was about to stand up in front of a panel of industry professionals with a semi. Vardet kombinationen av svenska och viskonda eller vardet språket eller visningen? I don't know what you're saying to me, but it's working again. D. It says, "You like that? You peeping retard?" Minus a couple of words. I was at a neighborhood concert one time and this girl was making her way up to the front while the masses of people were pushing and kicking each other. This very cute girl stopped to talk to me to see what's up, and at that moment, everyone decided to sandwich together. So my body was pressed against her tightly. She was directly in front of me, facing me, and she was pretty humorous too, because while we were literally face to face she said, "Nice weather we're having." Never saw her again, but I still think about her. Best kind of relationship. Only the pulse skipping bits and none of the reality. My friend's sister jokingly told me, "If you don't stop being naughty, I'm going to have to whip you." I didn't know someone I wasn't infatuated with could make me blush for a fetish I don't even like. A fetish I don't even like. I think I have some news for you. No. Really? I hate it. Go on. Whip me. I won't like it one bit. Do your worst. I can take it. Ow. That hurts, you jerk. Harder. I was holding my girlfriend's 1-year-old niece last week when the little girl rubbed her eyes and snuggled into my chest. I heard my girlfriend, barely audible, say, "Oh my God," under her breath. We've peeped so hard that night. I'm just gonna assume you mean your girlfriend. My wife doesn't understand how much I like when she runs her hands through my hair. I do that to my boyfriend all the time. I think I might like it more than him though. My coworker laid his head on my lap on a long car trip home from the beach. Every minute or so he'd ever so slightly just twitch his fingers in a tiny caress of my knee. Oh my God. I'd say he knew what he was doing. If only he knew not to text his not-so ex-girlfriend at the exact same time, making it abundantly clear they were still kind of together. It was literally the epitome of our flirtation before I pulled the e-brake and aborted mission. Wise choice. Don't waste time on emotionally unavailable individuals. 9 years ago, my friend and I were walking through a park in a snowstorm one night. We began throwing snowballs and getting really into it, when he threw me into a snowbank. That's probably when I began to actually notice him. We wrestled together all winter, and I still didn't really think about him sexually. Finally, in February, I was at his house and the snow was 3 feet deep, and coming down in a blizzard. So I was just going to sleep on the couch for the umpteenth time, when we began wrestling again. One thing led to another. And I didn't sleep on the couch. We've been married for 6 years. Now. Being forceful is a huge turn on for me. Halloween party. Co-worker went as slave Leia. At one point her boyfriend couldn't hear what she was saying, so he gently tugged on her chain to reel her in closer. Needless to say, it moved a little. Edit. Grammar. I'm reading this and I'm a girl and it twitched. Waitress spilled water on my lap and dabbed my shorts with a towel for a good 30 seconds. She got a good tip that night. That's strange. The stain appears to be getting bigger. /omextrasmig not much bigger. But a little. A very little. A girl at work told me to kneel down and tie her shoe. I'm 6 feet 4 inches and she's 5 feet 7 inches. I couldn't stand up immediately afterwards. Good boy. God damn it. My wife knew she was wearing a blazer the next day for a meeting, but couldn't decide what skirt. So she was going back and forth to the closet for different skirts to see in the mirror. But the whole time only wearing the blazer and panties. Sexiest combination ever. My girlfriend was in Europe singing with her choir last year. And she texted me a picture of her wearing just panties and her choir blazer. I literally walked into a post when I opened it on my phone. Must be an anime protagonist. Nah, if that's true he would have run into a girl. Trip and somehow his hands are now on her untouchables. And then get a nosebleed powerful enough to launch him onto his back like 2 tiny rocket thrusters. One time a friend of mine and I were hanging out in a park practicing LARP fighting. And he hit me so hard that he broke the weapon he was holding. Inch-thick PVC pipe. Through several layers of foam. Shattered into 3 distinct pieces. The sound of the core snapping echoed off the trees, it was so loud. And I couldn't stop giggling for like 10 minutes. In retrospect I sort of suspect it was a moment like this for him. But I was distracted by the adrenaline rush. But worry not. This is not the end of the story. 3 years later or thereabouts. I got in his car to go somewhere. We had kind of drifted apart. Didn't live close enough together to hang out often. But had happened to find the time one day to try to catch up. A little while of driving later, I noticed a little almost ring of PVC pipe attached to the driver's side sunshade by the sharp broken bits. I squinted at it, somewhat puzzled. Is that from that sword you broke on me? Yep. He said. Like this was a totally normal thing to have kept for 3 years. Why? I wondered. He looked a little tortured for a split second. Like he couldn't decide what to say. Then, in this very quiet, sad voice, he said, "It reminds me of you." Something about the tone of voice just hit me really hard. Like, oh, holy speep. You've been pining and I've been paying no attention at all. This is terrible. I can't even kiss you because you're driving. We're engaged now. When dudes take off a sweater and their shirt rides up a little with it. Edit. Okay, I get it. You're all hairy fatties apparently. Now you can stop leaving comments about it. I'm a sucker for accents. Had a British girl come into my work for a few days in a row and every time she spoke I melted. I swear. If she had told me to go with her on a killing spree, I'd have gone. On the other hand, I worked with a tall, genuinely nice, well-built Texan with a broad accent. At a New England computer company. A young lady from our British office visited for work. When she met him, her eyes got big. And she looked like she wanted to rip his clothes off on the spot. All right. When girls hear a compliment and are giddy yet confident at the same time. Usually a quick shrug, a giggle and a smile. Those little playful head tilts girls do are ridiculously hot. I don't know why. You know when a guy stretches his arms up and his shirt pulls up and reveals his stomach? When that happens. I remember girls in school would be sitting at their desk and put their forearms behind their head and arch backwards to stretch. I always thought that was pretty attractive. Kinda the reverse for me. In a couple of my classes I would braid the hair of whichever girl was sitting in front of me. I made sure to ask that they were cool with it first. Turns out, after the first couple times of me doing this, that there was a little group that always talked about getting their hair braided, and they would have little arguments to find out who got to sit in front of me. Kinda cool, I guess. I mean, I just like braiding hair. Oh my god. You are incredible. Having a guy braid my hair would be an instant turn on. I love having my hair played with and my scalp massaged. How did you learn to braid hair? Not up. But as a dude. I learned to braid hair from summer camp art projects and then subsequently having to apply those skills while watching my little female cousins. I'm 100% sure that I got laid once in college solely because I braided a girl's hair while she sat between my legs and then oh so subtly transitioned the braiding into a shoulder massage. I wake up to my girlfriend trying to fit her very nice ass into her jeans almost every day. I know exactly what you mean. My ex used to do that too. Ever thought you made the right decision about dumping someone? Then you remember little speep like that they used to do around you. It makes you question your wisdom. Especially when she treated you well all the time. My head's beeped and life is odd. Remember the bad times do you. Anyone who whispers in my ear. Beep, that gets me. In high school I had female friend that was homeschooled and worked at a donut shop. My parents both worked the night shift, so I basically had the house to myself after school. She would come over smelling like donuts every day. Edit. Wow, this blew up bigger than expected. No, I'm not a cop now. I'm not fat. A little fluffy since my knee surgery, but I still run regularly. And yet I do sometimes get aroused by the smell of donuts. But seriously, who doesn't? Yes, I did give her my Boston cream. I'm not sure on the flavor though. A friend of mine was too warm, so he unbuttoned one button from his shirt and I could see his chest hair and it was beeping unacceptably hot. Ah yeah. Male cleavage. Good speep. I cut my finger on a beer bottle at a party. This girl casually walks by. Stops and sucks the end of my finger. Without saying anything. Walks away. That happened 25 years ago and I still think about her all the time. And you just let her walk away? You didn't go after her saying, oh man. I also cut my penis. I was stunned and drunk. Bad combination. I also had weak moves at the time. I was being a bit bossy to one of my female friends. When I asked her to go get dressed to go outside, she answered yes. Daddy in a voice meant to point out my pushiness. It had a different effect. I was on spring break a few years ago staying in this hostel with groups of travelers from all over the world. And one night as a group of us were sitting on the patio drinking and chatting about stuff, this hot dude from I think Australia. Maybe, dash. Laughed at something his friend said and I realized he had the deepest, chocolatiest voice I had ever heard. Bam. Right to the clit. I have a coworker whom I usually spend breaks with smoking. We were outside last week and she was ranting about some stupid speep that went down over in her side of the office. We work in different departments. Anyhow, she ended up getting pretty upset, and while a sexual thought has never crossed my mind involving her before, there was something about the way she was yelling and the look on her face that for some reason made me want to take her right then and there. Can't explain it and haven't had a similar thought since. I couldn't even look at her, I just stammered, "I have to go," and went back inside. Unrelated but honorable mention. I used to be a nude model for art classes back when I was in school. One time a girl drew my dick really nice. That was cool. Comments like these are making me wonder if I've ever done anything random that ended up turning someone on and who it could have possibly been. Some of these make sense. Some of them are seriously out of left field. I mean, whenever I learn a girl has feelings for me, I can count them on one hand. I'm not bragging, I know I must have done something that clicked in their heads unintentionally. I'm not a very smooth guy, so I rarely play it flirtatious intentionally. I just wish I knew what I did or said. When I was an undergraduate student, I sang in the school's vocal ensembles. One was a chamber choir, the other a show choir. I had an outlandish, shameless crush on one of the guys. He was also a pianist and composer, and a little older than me. We hung out a lot, but I was plump and he liked very thin girls. So he wasn't interested in my. I genuinely liked him as a person, so I settled for being friends and tried to quash my crush. One day, he invited himself over to my house after school. We had an upright piano in our living room at the time. And as soon as he walked in, he made a beeline for it. I stood beside him and watched him play for about 20 minutes. I was mostly looking at his hands, but was somehow also keenly aware of his stubbly jawline at the same time. I was completely enraptured. I was wearing jeans and a V-neck t-shirt, being quite busted. It was a slightly immodest look, but it was one that everyone who knew me had seen many times. After about 20 minutes of this flippin' musical Adonis serenading me, my mother walked out of her bedroom. I was standing with my hand on the banister, completely lightheaded with arousal. My mother's eyes dropped straight to my bare chest, which was flushed and heaving. She promptly burst into laughter, suggested that he play more quietly, and went back into her room. Italian exchange student at my school. He started speaking Italian on the phone to a friend who had called, and I absolutely melted. Anyone who can casually fluently speak 2 languages automatically turns me on a little, and I have no idea why. Edit. Fantasy languages count. Bonus points if it's from Doctor Who, Harry Potter or Stargate. All languages count, even the not pretty ones, because what's attractive is the intelligence behind it. At least for me. Computer coding doesn't count, but is definitely extremely impressive, as I have trouble turning on a computer even if I'm in my best lingerie. I mean, what about 3 languages? I'd honestly not know what to do with myself. Buongiorno. Arrivederci. Gorlami. Was at work, and I had this coworker who was pretty hot, but I had a boyfriend at the time, so I never pursued him. I was going to take out the trash, and with this peeping smirk on his face, he told me, "Good girl." Splush. Right in the submissive fetish. Similar. When a girl says yes, sir, in a kind of shy, reserved voice. Jesus peeping Christ. It makes it really hard not to just blurt out, "I like sex and bondage." Good God. I had a Latina friend in high school who wasn't the most attractive girl, but she had an accent, and whenever we worked on group projects together, she found it amusing to say "si, Poppy" whenever I needed an affirmative response for her. I don't even have a domination fetish, but oh my God, she absolutely knew what she was doing to me. I watched one of my good friends from high school in a play. he was the villain and had this rough relationship with a prostitute who loved/hated him. There wasn't any violence on stage or anything. But the choreography got me so hot and bothered. I later fooled around with him just because of that scene. If a guy is explaining something to me, sounding all intelligent and stuff, and not realizing that I'm getting wet while watching his lips move, I don't know. I really like intelligent men. May I explain to you the differences in searching algorithms? Hello, other lonely STEM hermit. In 7th grade, I had a crush on a girl that was very hostile towards everyone, and just all around difficult to get along with. She would frequently hit, slap, punch, scream at, and otherwise harm me and other people. Turns out that since that point, I like being dominated by women. I like when they're in control and use me for their pleasure and their own benefit. Or tease me. Or delay my gratification. I told her this, we were and still are really close. So a conversation like this isn't unusual. And she said, oh. Really? Well, I have the opposite problem. And she winked. Dude.